So we're going to move forward. All right, and we're going to learn about the check register, okay? Who can tell me what the check register is? Does anybody have an idea of what a check register is? Any ideas?
Is that where you like pay for things at like grocery stores?
That's a cash register that they give you like change back.
On the same thing?
There's some things that they have in common. What do you, when you go to a grocery store, what gets rung up at the cash register?
Groceries?
Yeah, so transactions. Okay, so a check register might, what? If a cash register is recording cash transactions, check register might record check transactions. And it'll also include other transactions. So if we go to an ATM, if we deposit money into our account, if we withdraw it, okay, it's to keep track of all the transactions that we have. We're gonna skip this activity for the sake of time. Basically, I was gonna have you guys take this quiz to see if you were an impulsive buyer or not. But who can tell me what an impulsive buyer would be? Anybody ideas what that would be? Alex.
Me.
I was gonna say,
Yeah, so if they say you're an impulsive buyer, so what does that mean?
I see something and I want it.
Yeah.
I want it right then and there.
Okay, so if we said a check register was for recording transactions, how might Alex benefit if he had a check register? You might not know the answer to this. It might take you guys a little bit of time when you come back to this question, once I further explain what a check register is. But how might he benefit from it?
Maybe you might keep track of his spending more.
Yeah, and how might that benefit him?
You might save money.
Exactly. He would know how much money's in his account, so he wouldn't spend as much, all right? So today we're going to basically learn how to fill out a check register, okay? So this is a check register, and there's a bunch of different columns and a bunch of different rows, and it may look a little complicated, but it's not. So in the number column, what do you think goes in here? Anybody?
The check number?
Exactly, yeah. Check number. What about if we had a deposit and we needed to record that transaction? What would we put in there?
Or would they give you like a receipt maybe?
Maybe, but this is for our personal use, okay? So when we're depositing money, what do you think we might put in this number column? I might not have explained that the best, but... Anybody?
Nothing.
Alright, nothing.
No.
You could leave nothing, but it might make it confusing when we go back to look to see what transactions are for. So if there's a deposit, you can write however you'll remember that it's a deposit. When I do it in mine, I write like DEP to stand for deposit. If I'm using a debit card, I'll write like BC. Withdrawal, what might you write for like a withdrawal?
So it doesn't have to be like
W.
a number?
W, or like W/D. A number, you said? For if it's a check, that's when we write a
check.
number.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Alright, so next we got the date. That should be pretty straightforward. How do you think we would write like today's date? It's October 31st, Halloween.
Running out October, like we did on the checks.
Ooh, do we have enough room in there, do you think, for that?
You guys small handwriting,
In small handwriting? What might be an easier way?
using numbers,
Yeah, it's like 10 and then what?
slash, what, 31st?
Yeah. And we don't need to write the year because that'll be up here for what year it is. Next, we have the description of the transaction. What do you think goes in that box?
What the transaction was?
Exactly, yeah, it tells us what we need to write. So, Brandon, we wrote a check for, was it Sammy? Okay, so we would write, what do you think we would write in here? We wrote a check for Sammy for $748.50 for her birthday, I think it was. So what might we write in description?
Sammy?
Sammy, maybe like Sammy birthday present, just so we know, hey, we gave Sammy $748.50 on her birthday. We were feeling real generous, okay? Wish I was Sammy. Yeah, I wish I was Sammy too. All right, the next two columns that we have, or big columns I should say, are we have the payment/debit and the deposit/credit, okay? So, what do you think a payment debit would do to an account? Any thoughts? Payment/debit. What do you think that would do?
So I can find it. Minuses.
Minus, yeah, there's a minus sign up right there. So what does minus usually mean in math?
Negative.
Yeah, so
Subtract.
increase or decrease?
Decrease.
Decrease, all right? So if we're putting a debit or a payment in to our check register, we're going to be decreasing the amount in the balance, okay? And we'll get to that in a second. So what transactions might cause a debit or a payment? What different transactions would do that?
Did we say deposit means you're adding money to your account?
Yeah, so we're subtracting. So what things subtract money from our account?
Payments.
Payments. So what's like a
Withdrawals.
payment? Yeah, withdrawal would take money out of our account, so we could write withdrawal, that would be a debit. Anybody else have any other
That's for
debits?
Sammy?
That's for who it is, but what would cause a debit for a transaction? Not looking at Sammy's, maybe like some other ones that would decrease our account.
Bills?
Bills, good. Anything else you guys could think of? What do we write to Sammy?
A check.
A check, all right, a check would decrease our account, perfect. All right, so we'll come back to this one in a second. Deposits, what would increase our account? We said what, withdrawals, checks,
Deposit.
cash? Cash would increase our account, what else might increase our account?
Paychecks.
Paychecks, exactly. So checks that we're receiving from other people would increase our account, okay? Good, I think you guys got a pretty good grasp on that. There's two little columns right in here, okay? So we write the dollar amount for either a deposit or debit or a credit in these two boxes. So we said for Sammy, $748.50, we write that right in here. Next, we have two more boxes. We have a check box and a fee. What do you think, will we write anything for Sammy's in there, or do you think those two boxes just get left alone for right now? Left alone, perfect. The only time you're really going to use this fee box is if you're using like an ATM transaction, okay? Sometimes when you go to withdraw money from your account, they'll tack on a fee for withdrawing money from an ATM. So when that happens, you can just write that amount in here, okay? And then this check right here, we'll learn about this more tomorrow, but we're using that to compare with our bank statement. So when we see transactions that are in both accounts, we'll just put a little check mark here showing that it's in both accounts. All right, last we have the balance for the account. So right now we have $4,500.75. So what do you think, how do you think these relate to that? Or what do they do to that? The deposit, or the debit and the credit, what do you think they do to our balance? Do they do anything to it? Does that number just keep going down? Like we just keep writing 4,575 in all these different amounts.
It'll adjust based off what you're putting on.
Exactly, yeah, it'll adjust. So if we're writing a debit,
Then it'll
which we said was a
increase.
payment, what would that do to it?
If it's a debit, doesn't it increase?
We said debit, so in accounting, have you taken an accounting class? Aren't there different, there's like normal accounts and then there's what other type of accounts? Contra accounts, right? Okay, so this is kind of a similar situation to a contra account. It's not really an account, but we're saying that debit would decrease for our check register, okay? And I know that a lot of you might get confused with that, especially if you've taken accounting, but to help you, there's a minus sign up here and an addition sign up here,
Okay.
just to help you with that, okay?
So it would actually lower the amount in that column.
Exactly. So we said for Sammy, or let's say we wrote Sammy a check for $100 this time, because we're not as nice as we were last year. What would that do for our 4,500?
It would become $4,475.
Exactly. Does anybody have a time? My computer's not showing up here how much we got left for this class. Okay. Let's do one transaction real quick, and then I'll give you guys your assignment, and then you'll be free to go, okay? So, Matt, you got this one? I think there's a marker right in there. So what's the situation you got here?
October 31st, you write check number